Vincent, it is my pleasure to invite you to the podium. Good evening, class of 2025. Thank you so much for all being here today. My name is Vincent Stone, and I'm honored to be speaking at the graduation ceremony of this unique and special class of graduating students. So, as I was putting the finishing touches on this speech, definitely not just hours before Mr. Cable's deadline, I was thinking about what makes our class unique. One thing that came to mind that must certainly be unique to Stargate. I think our traffic loop is a form of time travel. I swear when I leave 2 minutes earlier in the morning, I get there 10 minutes later. I didn't see anything about that in my physics C textbook. So I think another thing that makes us unique is where we started in relation to where we are now. We spent our 8th grade year in a pandemic, and at least for me, I came back to school and I felt like I had almost forgotten how to socialize and make new friends. I think we were perhaps unprepared. And if I may go out on a limb academically as well. Seriously, high school is hard enough without having to relearn math that we totally paid attention to during online school. Despite our teachers and school's very best efforts, the shock of going into high school came with a 2-steep bite. But as we gaze upon the sunset of this period of our lives, it's easy to oversimplify the voyage that we took to get us here. But the tides of adversity that ebbed and flowed deserve a moment of reflection. See, looking at the day to day, it doesn't seem like much happened. From the first day of school to the last, we get up and do essentially the same thing. We eat breakfast, or maybe you don't. You hit the snooze button maybe a few times. The classrooms look the same. The people are the same. And it feels like you've been taking the same subjects for ages by halfway through the semester. The bookends of our day are spent in traffic, always. Wait, did we talk about this? That's gotta be the time travel. But anyway, every day feels more similar than different. The small differences in what we learn in class, or our activities with our friends, or what we do after school, that's all that keeps it from feeling like Groundhog Day. But somehow by doing this same boring thing, we manage to become ourselves. What makes such a difference if every day is just a different sauce on the same dish? What makes our class so unique if the moments that we remember are, well, just about 0% of the literal years we remember? I want to kind of take an aside and ask a question that might seem completely unrelated. What is a limit? What's the first thing that pops into your head? For some, it might represent the end point of something. Maybe you've reached your limit with homework and have made peace with having senioritis. Maybe you're frustrated that the limit of your experience with your friends has to come so soon. Or maybe you're happy high school has a limit so that you can get a fresh start. For others, it might mean that one scary thing that Mr. Miko taught you, but you never really understood. What is the limit, as x goes to 0, of sine of x over x? Maybe you're the person who loves learning why the answer is 1. Or maybe you literally could not care less as you shrug your shoulders and wonder why. Or maybe a limit is something you place on yourself as you're trying to crack down on the amount of block blast you're playing on your phone. I set a time limit of 15 minutes, but what if I pressed 1 more minute a few times? Or maybe you had to limit your social media so you could study for that one darn test you really did not want to. In a strange way, I think these pieces are all part of the same story. Any way you think about a limit, we lose sight of what's important when we look at the end point, or the math problem, or the boundary. We first think about the end of something, less about the beginning, and we rarely remember the middle. A quote comes to mind: "The days are long, but the years are short." Every year, I think that fall semester has never been longer. Yet, when I look back, I could have sworn I blinked twice and it was over. I hope I can convince you to try and hold on to the day-to-day and the mundane, and why it's important to who the class of 2025 has become. I want first to return to that dreaded mathematical limit. If you ever take a math course called analysis in college, you'll learn the real definition of a limit, the epsilon delta definition, as it's called, of what you might learn in a regular calculus class. Sparing you all the fancy notation, mathematicians say that this limit exists if you can always get horizontally as close as you want, but never reach a point, and always still be able to get just as close in the vertical direction. The thing is though, if a mathematician wants to prove that you can actually take this limit, the definition of this definition cares more about everything in between actually getting to the point. In fact, you're not even allowed to actually hit this point when you're using this definition, speaking loosely. That's a really long-winded way of explaining what I need you to know. A mathematical limit asks a question about the journey as you get closer and closer to a point that you never actually reach. You might get the impression from the Calc BC class that we only care about what this limit evaluates to. But if we reveal the whole picture, this singular number that we would get out of the calculation is a result of the whole story that we, in my opinion, sadly sweep under the rug. In both the journey to the result of a limit and in the forgotten, inescapable monotony of daily life, we find ourselves rushing to the end and missing everything in between. Now I want to pivot to the limits you might place on yourself. If we think about the aforementioned screen time limit for block blasts, that sweeping phenomenon, that mobile game that took Stargate by storm, the question I find important is not how much time did I put on my screen time limit, but rather, how did we get here? I think for more than a few of us, we just saw a friend playing and decided to try it and got a little too addicted. Then we got competitive and started playing Block Blast way too much to try and top that sweet, sweet Stargate leaderboard. But that's the thing. That's what I think we need to remind ourselves about Stargate. It's not whether you set the time limit that's truly important. It's how you got there from the time we spent with our friends. As we now rapidly approach the limit, the end point of Stargate, I hope you can look back fondly on the mundane, the in-between, mile 300 and something of the 1,000-mile journey that was high school, and realize that is truly what makes great moments like these special. These are the ones that will stick in our memories for years to come. Things like the birthday parties, the school dances, and late nights talking with our friends. These might be the most available memories when we're in college. And they are important. They're how we'll remember high school. But I implore you, do not forget the importance of the mundane in who you've become. It's everything in between that makes the great moments special. And really, it's these in-between moments that have slowly made us ourselves. What will drive you to look back at the end of college in a few years and say, I sacrificed a lot, but it was so worth it? Or where do you stop? In other words, what is that one thing you were put on this earth for? And you won't give up until you've reached your limit doing that. I want you to know, I believe your limit does not exist. As you soar out of Stargate and spread your wings in your next venture, don't limit yourself to what you think you're capable of. I hope you can find that one thing and pursue it to the ends of the earth. I also believe that our time together, the limit of that does not exist. Some of us have gone to Stargate since kindergarten. Others came here in high school. But I believe our community can transcend the physical limits and have its spirit live on, even as we disband. I want to close with something a close friend of mine said. While he might have had stars on his mind because we were at an astrophysics camp, I think it's especially fitting to Stargate. I hope you'll agree. We will all become stars wherever we go. And one day the stars will align again.